everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm here today to do a what I read while I was gone video. I obviously really haven't been filming since October, so I have a few books. Not as many as I would like at all, but I have some books that I've read from October to now. So yeah, let's just get into that. I wanted to mention that I'm not really going to be giving summaries today. I'm going to kind of give like a brief thought of the book. I don't remember enough about them to give like a solid summary, and I also just don't have enough time, I don't think. The first book that I read was Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. Next book I have that I read for you guys is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I actually read it on audiobook. It was my first audiobook, and I have since fallen in love with audiobooks. So it is sort of like a mystery novel, and it's really creepy and dark vibey, so I read it around Halloween time, and I did really like it for those reasons. I am unsure if I'm going to pick up the next book, but I did buy it just in case, so we'll see. The next book I read was Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. This is a poetry book. I liked it a lot. It's really a fast read. I think I read it in like 30 minutes. Yeah, I definitely want to pick up her next book, and in general I think I actually want to start reading more poetry. Next up I read One Dark Throne by Kendare Blake. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic. It was just perfect and dark and mysterious and so twisty. I just really liked it. Next up I read The Unbecoming of Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, which I was kind of surprised about because I do remember liking it. It was a good book, but when I went back and looked at my rating just to give it out for this video, I was like, 5 out of 5 stars, really? I thought I'd given it like 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. And I was kind of surprised because it was a good book. It's just the very end had a cliche feeling to it, and I just was really surprised by the turn it took. Like, I really loved it all the way, I think, until the end. But I guess when I was fresh out of reading it, I was like, yes, 5. I haven't picked up the next book yet, mostly because I lost it. I don't know how. Like, I had it all set up just so that I could read it right after I finished this book, and then I started searching my house and it was just gone. Like, I went through my bookshelves multiple times. I like cleaned my house. I have no idea where it went. So until I get the second book, I'm not gonna even try to read the second book, obviously. Next up, I read We Were Liars by Lockhart. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. It was interesting. This isn't really my kind of read, I guess. I liked the mystery, and I really liked the writing. I don't know how to explain it. It's like almost poetic, but not quite. So I really did enjoy that part of it. I just wasn't sure if I loved the storyline. And then the ending, I'm not gonna say much about it. I know everyone and their mom has read this book already, but just in case you haven't, this book just takes a sharp turn, and it's one that I really didn't expect. I can't remember exactly why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I think it was just because I didn't like the entire storyline, but the writing was fantastic. I did enjoy the plot twist to an extent. I believe those were all the books that I'd read in October, so the rest of the books are everything I've read after October, which is sad. It's not a good amount. So I read The Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This book was great. I really liked it, and I liked her own twist on what like fairies are and like how they are and just the entire world of the fae, but like overall I was just like, no. I think it's just because I was fresh out of like rereading A Court of Mist and Fury, so I didn't love exactly the fae in this book, but I really did like it. I love like books about fairies, and I love books that are that fantastical, and I think her writing was really good, so 5 out of 5. Next up, I have one that I'm actually really excited that I finally picked up, and that's The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Sorry if I keep looking over there. I'm still getting used to like having a camera, which I don't think I've filmed on. I've filmed so many videos on this, I just haven't like uploaded them. And I just realized this is gonna be like my first video, so. But yeah, so I'm getting used to like the whole viewfinder thing versus the actual camera thing. But yeah, so I read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. The writing is great, the characters are great, the story is so fascinating, and I'm really excited to pick up the next 3 books in the series. I haven't bought them yet, so That's probably going to be one of my next purchases whenever I get in the mood for it. This next book was the first book that I read in 2018, and it's a hefty one. It's The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I have owned this book for 3 years now, and I just haven't picked it up because it's intimidating. I thought I'd ordered like the big paperback, but it turns out I'd ordered the mass market paperback. I don't like reading mass market paperbacks, so that was also a really big reason why I never picked it up, and then it's like really hefty, and I wasn't sure if this is gonna be like the kind of fantasy read that I like. I read it on audiobook when I was on vacation, and I loved it. It's like a 27-hour long audiobook or something crazy like that, so it took me a while, but it was fantastic. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This is probably one of the best fantasy books that I've ever read. Next up, I read The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is another book that has just been on my shelves for like 3 or 4 years now, and I'm kind of trying to make my way through those. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This was, originally I actually gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and then it was just like when I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, I don't know about that. I think it's a very interesting take on like what the future could be, and I liked it a lot. I liked the storyline. I kind of liked surprisingly, the love part of it was my least favorite part. It was still good. It was just one of those like, did we need that? I don't know. Next up is another book that I actually picked up on audiobook because I had been working on it for so long and was just intimidated to keep working through it. So that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I have been working on this since I bought the series. I was like 100 pages deep for 3 years, and I would keep picking it up because I would remember those 100 pages. There isn't that much that happens in those first 100 pages. And then I was like about halfway through when I finally was like, you know what, let's just get the audiobook. And the audiobook, it took a while to get used to the narrator. He has a very deep baritone voice. And I was like, there's a little girl in this. It was actually really good, and I loved it so much. 5 out of 5 stars. This has that different fantasy feel for me. Like, this was a good book for me to read straight off of The Name of the Wind, because they both just have that more adult fantasy vibe to them. Like, they're just focused on different things. Like, the magic systems are both so well thought out and different, and I just really enjoyed this one as well as Name of the Wind. Next up, I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I also listened to this one on audiobook. It was really, really good. The nerd in me was just so happy. I don't know why it took me so long to pick it up. It was so well narrated. It was so well thought out. And I haven't seen the movie yet. That was the worst part. I finished it definitely before the movie came out, and I was ready to see the movie. And for one reason or another, I've been so busy and I didn't get to see it, so I'm bummed. So next up, I read Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. This is the final book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I read half of it just normal, like I read it through, and then I just downloaded the audiobook. I had like 3 credits, and I was like, you know what, I just need to like use them. And I actually really liked the audiobook. I think that it was a lot better on audiobook than I had been reading it. I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. I can't remember if I already said that. It was a good conclusion to the trilogy. It gave me everything that I needed, like right at the end. The first part of it is just kind of slow. It's a lot of like build up to the end, but the end is well done, so. Right, now we're getting into the books that I actually read this month. Alright, so the next book I read was Red Rising by Pierce Brown, another book I've had on my shelf for like a millennia. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I didn't expect to like it that much because like sci-fi, and it's from the perspective of a guy, and it's such an interesting take on what the future could be like, and it was really well thought out. I liked it a lot. I'm definitely going to be picking up the second book as soon as I can. I actually own it, so that's the next book that I plan to read. So finally, we have to hurry up. I'm running out of battery. The last book that I read was Immortal Rain, which is the last book in the Fallen Kingdoms series by Morgan Rhodes. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy the ending. I think she wrapped it up really, really well. I just haven't been the biggest fan of the books. I don't love the writing style in it, and that's just totally on me because the story is great and the characters are great, but the writing is what kills me every single time. And I think it's because of I can predict every plot twist that happens in these books. I don't know why. I did really like it. I have nothing against it. So before my battery runs out, I'm just gonna say bye guys, and I'm gonna be uploading a book haul of all the books that I got in that time, and it's also gonna have a cute little announcement at the end of something that I'm trying to plan to do. So yeah, I'll see you then. Bye guys. Hey everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and wow, my voice sounds weird. Sorry, my cat's in his litter box, so he likes to scratch in there. T'Challa! But that's my cat. I mean, I think I'm sick. Excuse me.